Hey everybody, Bearded Rogue here today, and in order to conclude the Three Things I Love series about my top 3 games of all time, I'm coming to you with my 3 things I love about Sentinels of the Multiverse. Now, like my other top 3 games, this one could get extremely long and have many more than 3, but I'm going to go ahead and try to confine myself to 3. So, the first thing that I love about Sentinels of the Multiverse is the story. Each and every character has their own story. And the designer of the game, Christopher Bedell, and I'm sure that Adam and Paul and other people have been involved too, but I think Christopher's the primary architect of the story. Like, they have an entire fictitious comic book universe. It's not just the story of one game, it's the story of an entire multiverse, and characters interwoven through that multiverse, and each character is unique. And just as a side tangent to that, being unique, like, this is a game that has characters of every color. I mean, we've got Pacific Islanders, we've got Egyptians, we've got Aborigines, we've got people of various genders, male, female. We've got sexualities represented. There's an open lesbian and openly gay character. We have aliens whose gender is roughly indeterminate, and a robot that has no gender. It's really like, there's a hero in here that represents almost every version of human being or sentient life form possible. And there's more coming. I mean, we even represent gingers. So, really, everybody's included. Everybody's in the set. And all of them are completely unique. And the fact that Tachyon happens to be a lesbian is important to her character, much the same way that her being a brilliant scientist is important to her character, or much the same way that having super speed is important to her character. Like, all of those things integrate to create an actual character that you're playing as. And it's the best representation of comic books I have seen in any game ever. As I said in my top 3 video, a lot of people really like Sentinels Tactics. I'm not a miniature games guy, but the characters in it are the same, or at least it's a future version of them. And so I know that it has to feel like a comic book as well, because these characters, even though they come from a fictitious comic book universe, have a storyline. Like, Ra here, at one point, gets defeated by his nemesis and goes to find himself in the desert and ends up coming back as a much more powerful, bearded version of himself. You know, he's questioned who he is. You know, characters have upgraded their equipment and their powers, or in the case of Bunker, like, somebody new is taken over the suit completely. Like, they've switched who's in the armor. So the storylines continue with the characters, so each game is just a snapshot in time, which is why the variability, like, there's so many different characters, so many different villains, so many different environments in this game, you could never possibly play them all. The variability, however, doesn't feel forced or weird or awkward, because the multiverse is part of the story. Like, every timeline ever imaginable, every possibility for these characters, they really set themselves up in canon with a way to explain all of the different games that everybody in the world will ever play of this. And it's brilliant, and the story is excellent. The issue of the comic book that they were able to put out, a Freedom 5 annual that was released as part of one of their Kickstarters, I believe, was fantastically written, and just in general, really great storyline. The second reason I love Sentinels of the Multiverse is also really obvious: the artwork. all of the art in this game was done by one man, Adam Rebataro. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But he did every single card, all of these characters, all of the villains, all of the individual card art. The man is a machine. The art is amazing. If you do not like the art from Sentinels of the Multiverse, I would hazard a guess that you do not like the art in comic books. And it's just gotten better over time. Like, every single set raises the bar in what the artwork is like. It's been really fun watching this, as I've been following the game since their initial Kickstarter. I backed their initial Kickstarter, and I've been following it ever since and acquiring everything I can in regards to it. And the artwork just keeps getting better. Like, I know that there's some element of, if you just do, I don't even know how many at this point, 3,000 different pieces of artwork for one game, you're going to level up as an artist. But Adam has leveled up, like, in the middle of sets. He's leveled up just in such a short period of time, and his artwork is just superb. It has its own unique character to it. It's cohesive. It's not all over the place. All of the characters look like they could inhabit the same universe, and it's a universe that it would be really cool to see. It has, it's very comic book-ish, but it has almost like a Disney element to it, if that makes sense. Like, there's some Big Hero 6, The Incredibles, Pixar type feel to some of the artwork, particularly where you have some very silly scenes, like Haka getting an ice cream cone and getting shot in the back by Ambuscade. There's humor to it. It's not all grim and gritty 90s comic books. There's some humor to things, and I really enjoy that. Like, he captures the characters and their attitudes. Like, there's one picture of Tachyon leaning against a wall with a slice of pizza, and she's eating pizza in the middle of a fight. Her metabolism is so high because of her super speed that she has to eat pretty much constantly to keep everything running, and at the same time, like, she's just in the middle taking a pizza break while she analyzes what's going on so that she can use that gigantic scientific mind of hers to figure out the best strategy for them going forward. So it's just an amazing world that's been created in the art, not just the story. So it really, both sides of that complement each other. So, my first favorite thing, the story, and my second favorite thing, the artwork, really are one cohesive unit, even though they come from two individuals. And I'm really glad that these two guys know each other, because this is amazing. So, my third thing that I love about Sentinels of the Multiverse, it's a game that I can play with nearly anybody. First of all, it's cooperative. Cooperative games tend to go over better with people that I do not know, or with people who aren't that into competitive board games or are sore losers. You will lose at Sentinels of the Multiverse. It will happen, but you will all lose together, and just its very cooperative nature means that it's much more accessible to anybody, even people who don't play games traditionally. In addition, the basic mechanics of a turn, like the round structure, is extremely defined. You can just follow the steps each and every time. The play power draw that a player uses on their turn is really easy for people to get a handle on. It doesn't cause a lot of confusion. You're much more able to focus on what your strategy will be than how does this work again? And there are some people who have leveled a criticism at the game that it's really fiddly, and I can see that. There's a lot of things to track, a lot of modifiers in play at any one time, but the newer edition that gives you the tokens, I feel, eliminates most of the fiddle that used to exist. I mean, there's still moving the tokens around and everything, but there's not, I don't feel that it's that fiddly of a game. I think that the older version prior to the tokens was very mentally taxing, as you had to do all of the gymnastics of keeping all of the math in your head and continually adding modifiers. But with the tokens, it's really easy to track. If everybody at the table helps, it's really easy to run everything. Usually we have one person running the villain and then their character, and then one person running their character in the environment, and then it kind of hums for us at this point. We don't experience a lot of fiddle. We just kind of know how everything works. And I haven't played every character. We've almost played against every villain. There's a couple from the latest set that we haven't got to because we had multiple rematches with others from that same set. But the fact that I can just whip this game out and say, okay, so we're going to play this game, and I'm going to teach you to play it in the first turn, and then you're just going to be up and running. Like, I won't have to do anything else after that. I'll run the villain, I'll do my turn, you play, and, then next round you'll just do it. Like, you won't have any questions, or if you do, they'll be like timing or rules questions that are more advanced than how do I play this game again. So overall, I think it's one of the easiest games in the world to get people to play with me. In addition, going back to the story and the art, if I start talking about either of those things or showing off either of those things, I immediately get people hooked. This game has a very good hook. Anybody who's ever loved comic books has a very good shot at loving this game, even if they don't love games. I have several people that I know who play this game and really not many others. So it's become kind of it's other than Netrunner, it's the game I have logged the most plays of. And Netrunner games are head to head, and I've played in tournaments where I did multiple games of it in a row. But for Sentinels, usually we don't stop playing after one game. Usually we play and then play and then play. Especially if a villain beats us the first time, we have to dive in for an immediate rematch, and it really lends itself to that. Whether you pretend that the characters you were playing have now been kidnapped and you have to go rescue them with new characters, or you want to spin up the exact same rematch because it's in a multiverse, and maybe the first match you had was how it ended in one universe but not the one you're currently in. Overall, it's a fantastic game. There's a reason it's in my top 3. I have pretty much nothing bad to say about this game. Greater Than Games are amazing people. They're amazing guys. They're very passionate about their games, and they're very passionate about their fans. They're really easy to contact and talk to. I know now they've hired a community manager, and Craig is just as amazing as they are at handling anything that comes up. They're ultra responsive, and they really care. If you get an opportunity to meet any of them at a convention, I suggest you do it immediately, because they're some of the coolest people in the business. But yeah, Sentinels of the Multiverse, like this game right here is one of the games that hooked me into Kickstarter, modern board games, cooperative games, and reinforced the fact that I really am a card gamer at heart. So giving me a card game about comic book characters was a good way to feed my desires when it comes to gaming. Anyway, I've probably gushed long enough and embarrassed myself at this point, but I'll just say I love this game, and thank you guys for watching. Bye.